All right, welcome to the postgame show, everybody. Altitude Sports Radio 92.5. Dan Tanner here for In the Paint reaction, instant reaction to Nuggets and Bulls here live at Ball Arena as the Nuggets open a 5-game homestand here in the Mile High City. Started off with a loss to Chicago, 129-119 is your final. Just got back from Michael Malone's press conference downstairs. Nothing too crazy from Coach Malone. He said he thought the team played hard, but did say he didn't think they played hard enough in order to get the win. I mean, the Bulls had a lot of transition points in today's game, and he said that the team was aware of this going into the game. In fact, the Bulls had 31 fast break points to the Nuggets 11. 20-point difference there, and you lose by 10. So that number right there, coupled with the fact that the Nuggets might have a glaring issue right now in the starting lineup, and that is Michael Porter Jr. He was 7 of 18 from the field overall, but just 1 for 10 from beyond the arc. You know, minus 22. Michael had a really rough game here at Ball Arena this evening. I've been critical of MPJ throughout the season, but I think what's so concerning right now is he's not able to do the one thing that he's really out there to do, and that is be a knockdown three-point shooter. If he's not doing that, he's not giving this team a whole lot right now. So that is, it almost looks like his shot, it's not his shot is broken. He looks like he's almost broken mentally when shooting the three ball right now. I've talked about this for the last couple of weeks, really. It just, the confidence is simply not there in Michael Porter Jr.'s three-point shot, and it culminated in a 1 for 10 performance this evening. This is going to be something that the Nuggets have to get right before the playoffs start. I mean, if Michael goes 4 of 10 tonight instead of 1 for 10, you know, you're talking about a 1-point game, and who knows what happens at that point. But again, this is something that is definitely very concerning, I think, for myself, and I know a lot of Nuggets fans out there. When Michael's out there not doing the one thing that he is supposed to be able to do, you almost got to ask yourself, like, why is he out there? The defense is okay. He did have a really good block in the first half that led to a transition bucket. I mean, that was really the only good moment that I saw tonight for Michael Porter Jr. overall. So that was kind of my biggest takeaway from tonight's game, is just, how does this team get Michael Porter Jr. right and back to where he's, you know, a 40+% three-point shooter? Because this team, especially with no Aaron Gordon again tonight, no Nikola Jokic for the 5th straight game, he's got to be a more efficient and effective scorer for the Denver Nuggets in order for this team to win basketball games. And the Chicago Bulls, I mean, hey, I give them credit. Like, they were blitzing the Nuggets every single time down the court. In fact, in the third quarter, I thought Josh Giddey just kind of took that third quarter over. He was just straight up line driving it, V-lining it to the rim, what seemed like every single offensive possession for the Chicago Bulls, and he was doing it effectively. Kobe White had a tremendous game. I mean, he's a player that I've been high on really since he got drafted. What was that, 4 or 5 years ago now? He has been spectacular. In fact, Kobe White is the youngest Bulls player to have 3 straight 35-point games or more since Michael Jordan back in 1988. That's how well Kobe White is playing right now for the Chicago Bulls. He is a tremendous player. This Bulls team they kind of remind me of like the Rockets or the Grizzlies in the Western Conference. They're that team in the East. They're very young. They've drafted some really good, talented players. Buzeles didn't have a monster game tonight. He was the 11th overall pick in last year's draft. He didn't, wow you on the on the stat sheet tonight, but I will say, just watching him live, Buzeles, he's going to be a pretty good player as well. And, Josh Giddey, he's a young player. He was super effective tonight, 8 for 11 shooting from the field with 26 points. The Nuggets just, again, it was some of the same issues, not a lot, some of the same issues that we saw in their loss last Friday night in Portland. The blow-bys were very apparent for the Nuggets. They just look slow on that end of the floor, to say the least. And, Zeke Naji got blown by a couple of times. That part of the defense is definitely where you're missing a guy like Aaron Gordon. Now, I understand he was in the game in Portland, but they've got to try something different. And to be fair, they've gone into the zone, I think, at various points through this rough stretch, if you will, to try to minimize that. But I just don't think I don't think Michael Malone, who's a defensive-minded head coach, really wants to be a zone-first defensive team. I think he's more comfortable playing man-to-man and then going to the zone, in spurts throughout games. So it almost seems like they're still trying to put the puzzle pieces together on that end of the floor, and they just are a tick slow on their rotations on the defensive end. And, still getting out to the three-point line is also an issue. There were way too many wide open three-point shots for the Bulls tonight. In fact, the Bulls shot nearly 44% from beyond the arc tonight, 17 for 39, and a lot of those were just wide open three-point shots. So that's what's most concerning about the Nuggets right now. The same issues keep popping up for this team. And I get it. I'm not going to be too hard on them tonight because they're missing 2 of their 5 starters, and they're missing, for the 5th straight game, the best player in basketball, who is a very good defender. I wouldn't say Nikola Jokic is an elite defender, but he is a good defender. There's no doubt about that. But what Nikola does on the defensive end that I think goes unnoticed by a lot of people is he really helps. It's very similar to what he does in the offensive end. He helps orchestrate and direct the defense. How many times have you heard stories about Nikola Jokic calling out the opposing team's play that they're running? I mean, this happens all the time. We heard about it, what was that, last year or 2 years ago in Minnesota? I believe it was Anthony Edwards and Rudy Gobert were talking after the game like Nikola Jokic knew all the plays we were running. So that is I think, underrated element that this team also loses when Nikola Jokic is not out there. His ability to help orchestrate the defense. We all know what he can do on the offensive end, obviously, but that is something that I think is underrated with Joker. All right, I do want to get to some of your comments here. Let me know how you're feeling after the Nuggets fall to the Bulls, 129-119. We're going to hear from Michael Malone here in just a second. The other thing that was a bummer about tonight's loss for the Nuggets, good and bad, I guess, but the Lakers lost to the Magic. So this was a great opportunity for the Nuggets to separate themselves that much more from the 4-seeded Los Angeles Lakers. And unfortunately, they weren't able to do that tonight. But the Nuggets still currently do hold a 1-game lead over the LA Lakers. Now, I will say the Lakers do have 2 games in hand. So you have to keep that in mind as well. And Memphis is in the same position as the Lakers are. They also have 2 games in hand. So this was what could potentially be a very consequential loss for the Denver Nuggets here to start off the 5-game homestand. If you were listening after last night's victory over the Rockets, my plan for Nikola Jokic's return, this is what I would do. Sit him out Wednesday against the Bucks and Friday against the Jazz. Then they have 3 days off. And then I would bring him back for Wednesday's game against the Minnesota Timberwolves. I would imagine that's kind of where the coaching staff and the training staff's heads are at. I mean, we'll see. Who knows what Michael Malone might just be over this and try to get him in there as soon as he can, as soon as the trainers and Joker himself says he's ready to go. But we will see. All right, let's head downstairs and hear from Nuggets head coach Michael Malone. He spoke to the media after the Nuggets lost to the Chicago Bulls.
Us over and over, which was transition.
This is a difficult spot, back to back, missing obviously Joker and AG. I feel like the fight was good tonight. Do you agree with that? Never?
Yeah, I mean, I thought our guys, considering the circumstances, 3 games and 4 nights, I thought we played hard, but we needed to play harder. Gave up 31 points in transition, and that was the whole message all day long against arguably the best running team in the league, makes, misses, turnovers. And, 34 assists, only 12 turnovers is not a bad number. But 31 fast break to 11, you get outscored by 20 on the break. In a game, you lose by 10. And there were just examples. I could tell we were dead tired in that third quarter, fourth quarter. Turnover, made basket, and they were just driving the ball down our throat, throwing the ball over our heads, and we just weren't able to get back. I thought our guys competed, but against that team, you got to compete even harder.
Do you feel like that effort level? I'm trying to get a sense of how you feel about that effort level versus the defensive performance. You just talked about some of those things. Do you feel like there's more they can give, or is it more there's more they're going to have to give somewhat?
Yeah, no, I thought we didn't lose tonight because our guys didn't play hard. Right. I felt the Portland game was one of those games where we didn't bring anywhere close to the effort that we need to. Tonight, it's I think tie game going into the fourth quarter, and second half they shot 48 from the field. Obviously, you have to give a lot of credit to Kobe White. That kid's playing at a really high level and did so again tonight. Had 24 at the half, had 37 for the game. Josh Giddey, 26, 9, and 8. Those 2 players, obviously. And then I thought, Jalen Smith and Terry off the bench were really impactful. So, no, I don't look at this game without watching the film saying, man, we didn't play hard. I thought we competed, but we allowed the same thing to beat us over and over, which was transition.
Jamal looked like he was taking this loss especially hard just as he was walking off. What did you kind of see from him, especially down the stretch, just trying to will the team back into it?
We all should be taking this loss hard. I hope it's not just Jamal Murray that's taking this loss hard. I think there's a lot of guys in that locker room that are taking this loss hard. Jamal went out there, competed, been playing at a high level, and they gave him a lot of extra attention. And we needed some other guys just to step up and make some plays, and we just weren't unable to do so tonight. That happens at times.
When you lose a game like this, where you necessarily you don't have a rest advantage, and some of the circumstances are out of your control. Does it accentuate a loss like Portland, where you just didn't play with the level?
Portland's over. We moved past Portland. We beat Houston last night, so. I don't look in the rearview mirror. I look forward. We lost tonight against Chicago. We got Milwaukee coming in here. We got Utah coming in here. We got Minnesota coming in here. We got San Antonio coming in here. So we lost tonight. Give the Bulls credit, and we'll have to be better come Milwaukee.
Defensively, it seems like this year the league has really allowed the offensive player to take up the space, create the contact with the defensive player, and either making that space a layup or getting a foul call. How is a defensive player supposed to stop guys that are allowed to just kind of get you off of?
It's a great question. It's one that I ask the referees quite often. If an offensive player just puts his head down, jumps into you over and over and over again, I don't know how you're supposed to guard that. And I'm asking for clarification because I want to be able to help my guys. I want to help Peyton Watson, who's trying to do the right thing, by taking the hit in the chest and showing his hands. Everything we're telling him to do, and he's still getting a foul call. I want to help Peyton Watson when he's guarding a player who jumps A to B into his body and gets 2 free throws. So we have to find a way to be better, whether that's continuing to talk to the referees, talking to the league. Obviously, they shot 26 free throws. We shot 24. So the free throw attempts, were fairly even. But they attack you for 48. I mean, that's one thing they do. And we knew that going in. They're one of the best running teams in the league for a reason because they run for 4 quarters. They never stop coming at you. And we saw that throughout the game this evening.
All right, there is Nuggets head coach Michael Malone after they lose to the Bulls 129-119 is your final. We've got our guy KJ Granderson popping on the show here. KJ, welcome to In the Paint. Nuggets fall to the Bulls 129-119. You just heard Malone there talking about, what are these guys supposed to do when you're just elbowing dudes off of the ball and you throw your hands up? It's what they're taught to do, and they're getting foul calls. Just overall thoughts on the game tonight, and then I've got a couple of questions for you.
Absolutely, man. I'll say this much to start off. If I hear him and Sean Payton mention something else about a rearview mirror, I'm going to lose my mind, because those two in rearview mirrors, they just always got an analogy for a rearview mirror. But anyway, I thought the Nuggets came out with really good energy tonight. I thought they were flowing good.
First quarter.
They won the first quarter. Second quarter, the bench did what the bench does. But I like what they were able to do. They hit a little stretch in the second quarter where Peyton Watson, I'm just going to be honest, he kind of took over. And they look good in the second quarter. They get into the third quarter. Rhythm is still flowing fairly well for the most part, but you can kind of feel the Bulls shifting a little bit. We get into the fourth quarter, 3 after 3. No rebounds. DJ goes
Still
out.
wide open
threes. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And Zeke Naji, I love him. This was not his best game tonight. And he had a couple of blocks, don't get me wrong. And I thought those blocks were great, but it was some important rebounds he needed to get. It was a couple of threes he needed to hit. And unfortunately, he just didn't hit them. But I won't fault any of this on Zeke Naji. This is just part of the Zeke Naji experience. But the Zeke Naji experience runs parallel with the Denver Nuggets experience, because night in and night out, you just don't know what you're going to get. The Nuggets have not won back-to-back games since the Kings and Suns homestand, at the beginning of the month. And so the Nuggets, man, this is who they are. It's
really weird to see them struggle this much at home. For a team that's been so dominant at home in the Jokic era. This is their 12th loss, I believe, at home this year. They're 23-12 at Ball Arena on the season. One of those was last week to the worst team in the NBA.
Man, if I could roll my eyes to the back of my head, I would. That's how I feel about that loss.
Yeah. Look, I will say, and I said this to start, I feel like the Bulls won this game more than the Nuggets lost it. In fact, in that third quarter, man,
Sure.
Josh Giddey was just basically on every offensive possession for the Bulls, was just V-lining it right to the rim. Yep. And, he made some tough shots. And I tell you what, I've been a fan of this kid since they drafted him, but Kobe White is a really good basketball player. In fact, I had a stat, KJ. Let me pull it up here real quick. He did something that hasn't been done since the Jordan era for the Bulls. So Kobe White, after his 37-point performance this evening, is the youngest Bulls player to have 3 straight 35-point games since Michael Jordan back in 1988.
That's crazy, thinking about all the stuff Derrick Rose did before he got injured.
Right? He won an MVP. He won an MVP with the Bulls.
Exactly.
I tell you what, man, but the areas where the Nuggets did lose this game, in my mind, and Malone mentioned one of them in his post-game press conference. He didn't mention the other. The Nuggets got outscored by 20 points in transition. They're the number one transition scoring team in the NBA. The Nuggets are.
Yep.
And you get outscored by 20 points in transition at home, at altitude, in the thin air. I mean, man, that's a tough pill to swallow. And then I've got one more negative, and then I do have a positive for everybody listening. The other negative, and I said this to start the show, Michael Porter Jr., he seems like he's broken, man. Like, I don't know how else to say it. At least,
I don't either, man. I
like,
don't either.
his shot doesn't look broken. He mentally looks broken right now. 1 for 10. And KJ, here's the thing, man. He was a minus 22. Let me ask you this question.
Mhm.
If Michael Porter Jr. is not out there hitting threes at at least a 40% clip, why is he out there? I mean, that is his main job with the Nuggets, is to be that knockdown sniper from beyond the arc. And over the last couple of weeks, really since post All-Star break, his three-point shot has just been very ineffective, which ultimately, unfortunately for the player he is right now, makes him completely ineffective in a basketball game.
Agreed, Dan. I wish I just wish MPJ would have told me his little spot in Cabo was booked. I could have made a few phone calls. We could have got this all worked out. And that way this shooting slump wouldn't be a problem. Because last time to fix this, we just made that one phone call to Cabo and everything was right with the world. But this time we weren't able to get him down there, and now it's a problem. The truth of the matter is with MPJ, man, it's not a confidence thing this time, man. I just think he's kind of in one of those ruts where
I think it's a confidence thing.
You think so?
Well, the reason I say that, KJ, is because how many times have we seen him double clutch on an open shot and then pass it up? That's what I'm looking at.
I agree.
To me, that screams lack of confidence.
Well, I guess what me and you are saying are interwoven, and here's what I mean by that. I think he's gotten too comfortable. He's been handicapped by Nikola Jokic. Nikola Jokic knows where he needs to be. He's always watching when people are cutting. He knows when they need to be in the corner. Russell Westbrook is just like a ball of fire. If you're open when Russ is looking at you, you better catch his pass, or else you're going to hear it, buddy. Mm-hmm. All right. And I think MPJ kind of struggles with that. Jokic are kind of like, get on his teammates a little bit, but Russ is like every possession he's on you. It's like nonstop with him.
Joker does a little bit more passive aggressively than Russ does. Russ just tells you exactly what he's
barking
doing.
At you. Here's a perfect example. MPJ denies Russell Westbrook the ball on the outlet when they were getting ready to have a potential fast break. MPJ gets trapped in a 2-on-0 situation. Not 2-on-0. It was like he was coming up on the left side and he gets trapped. So he throws the ball back off over to Russell Westbrook. Westbrook tried to throw, I'm talking about an absolute heater in the paint. And I think it was to DJ. And then the ball ended up it ends up going out of bounds. And Russell immediately tells MPJ, hey, man, don't stop. You got to be looking. You got to be looking. If you're going to bring it up, you got to be looking. I thought that was great coaching. I just think he's just not used to that, man. I think it's wearing on him. Like I said, what I think he's being handicapped by Jokic. You think his confidence. Ultimately, they both may be interwoven. Neither one is good for MPJ's demeanor and his effectiveness overall.
When you say he's being handicapped by Joker, what do you mean by that?
Well, like I explained a few minutes ago, Joker knows where MPJ is going to be. He knows his spots.
So are you saying he's being handicapped because Joker's not out there?
Yes.
Oh, I get you.
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah. Not literally by Jokic, but by Jokic's style.
Gotcha. Okay. Well, yeah, that's true. I will say he's kind of struggled even when Joker was in there. That's why I go back to the confidence thing. I mean,
for sure,
it could be a little bit of both. Maybe. But this team is not going to go far in the playoffs if they're getting performances like they've gotten from Michael Porter Jr. over the last month, really since the All-Star break. They need that shooting desperately, and he's not providing it right now.
I mean, I agree 1,000%, Dan. I'm gonna just tell you. I'm just gonna say out loud what I told you earlier today. I mean, unless something changes, unless this magical switch, which I don't believe exists right now for the Nuggets, unless it flips in the playoffs, I just think that we're looking at a second round exit again. I don't care what path you take. Like the only way you avoid it is if you maybe run into the Lakers in the second round. That's the only team I feel confident that they can like beat without the shadow of a doubt. I don't fear the Lakers like everybody else does. With that being said, I just see another second round exit. This team is the chemistry's not there, the effort's not there, the shooting's not there, the defending's not there. It goes through stretches. Like off the top of your head, Dan, give me one game this season where you can remember where the Nuggets have put it all together.
Like just 48-minute complete game.
Yeah, with very minimal turnovers, very minimal lapses defensively.
That there's not many that come to mind. I will say that it seems like in every game this year, KJ, the Nuggets have built up a significant lead. They've never been able to like put their foot on the throat and just, blow them out of the gym, if you will. The opposing team always seems to find a way to claw their way back in it, to the point where, this is why Nikola Jokic and the starters have been playing such big minutes, because they get up big. The starters get them up big. The reserves come in, the lead dwindles, and then you got to put your starters back in. And a lot of the time, Malone's putting Joker back in at the 9 or 10 minute mark of the fourth quarter, to the point where in Oklahoma City, we saw him start the fourth quarter because he didn't trust the reserves. So I will say the one ray of hope that I do have, and I talked about this after the Rockets game, is we've been talking about this all year. Don't run these guys into the ground. With how many games Aaron Gordon's missed, and this is all relative to if he's healthy, the rest that Nikola Jokic is getting right now, I understand it's because of an injury, but I do think that is something that hopefully can give them a little bit of a boost when the playoffs begin. These guys will be a little bit more rested and as healthy as they possibly can be, but is that enough? I think that's the question. Is that going to be enough for this team to be able to get over the hump and get out of the, even like you're saying, the second round?
I don't know. That's a great question. The Nuggets have never been known, quote unquote, as an injury prone team. They've never had that title. Last year they had their few knickknacks as far as Jamal, and occasionally guys would go out, here and there, but they've just never been that type of team. So saying all of that to say, maybe it will, maybe it won't. I guess I'm struggling to actually answer your question, Dan, because when I look at the Boston Celtics, when I look at the Oklahoma City Thunder, when I look at the LA Lakers, to a degree, they've started to do the little thing they do here in the last couple of weeks. But for the most
lost
part,
tonight.
Right, exactly. But when you look at the upper echelon teams between the East and the West, you don't see near about as much load managing in regards to making sure that we don't have injuries heading into the playoffs. Boston, the only player that they have to seriously load manage is Kristaps Porzingis. Everybody else, for the most part, is good to go. They choose to do it with Drew Holiday because they respect him as a veteran point guard. They don't have to. So I look at all of these other teams and I'm just like, I don't know. When I look at the Nuggets, I don't know if it will solve the problem. We've been talking about rest, and we've been talking about, do you stagger, Jokic more with the bench? Do you just keep Jamal and MPJ out there with the bench more? Like, I just don't know. We've tried everything.
They've tried the MPJ and Jamal stagger with the bench.
Dude,
they've tried that.
Dude, Michael Malone, and credit to him, he has tried literally every single thing he can. At the end of the day, man, the players have to want it just as much as he wants it for them. And at the end of the day, either you got that tenacity in you or you don't, man. And
Yep.
I will die on the heel of, man, the Nuggets, they can't fake hunger. Either you are or you aren't.
By the way, can you hear that music blasting here inside Ball Arena?
Dude, man, I was trying to figure out what that was, because for a second there, you started sounding like
They've
you
got
were
a
talking through
full-on
tunnel,
concert
bro.
going on out here. Let me, if I can turn this around. They got something going on down there. There's salsa dancing going on. So there you go. So
But-
apologize for the noise, but
Well, Dan,
I just
go
work
down.
here.
Dan, go down there and tell them we're doing a post
Turn it
show
down.
here.
Tell them to turn it down. Okay, but last thing, KJ. One of the other things that does give me hope. The first thing I said was the fact that Joker's getting some rest, Aaron Gordon rest, and I get it's because of injury management, stuff like that.
Sure.
But they are getting rested. The other thing that gives me a little bit of hope is really since, I don't know, mid-December, Jamal Murray has been playing lights out. And I will say this. He played his ass off tonight. There
sure
were,
did.
3 plays where he dove out of bounds and saved a loose ball and got the Nuggets possession. Jamal looked pretty distraught after this loss. That dude is clicking on all cylinders. And from what we saw early on this season, when I think you and I both agree he came into the season out of shape, there's just no other way of getting around that.
Facts.
But he is rolling right now.
Yep.
So if he can keep this up and keep producing and keep shooting the 3 ball, at or above the 40% marker, you get Joker back rested. You get Aaron Gordon back, hopefully for the playoff run, because there's no back-to-backs. I would imagine if this was a playoff scenario, I know there's no back-to-backs, I would imagine if this was a playoff game, Aaron Gordon would have been able to go tonight. That's just kind of my feeling.
Agree. I think both would have gone tonight.
So the fact that Jamal Murray is playing at the level he is encouraging. So there are positives going on right now with the Nuggets, but the negatives are the problem with this team is the negatives have been the negatives all season long. The lack of 3 perimeter defense, the blow-bys on the defensive end, Michael Porter Jr.'s inconsistencies, specifically shooting the basketball from distance.
Mm-hmm.
Zeke Naji just never knowing what you're going to get. And then more recently, it's been their struggles on the glass.
Yep.
That sort of popped up. That didn't seem to really be as big of an issue earlier on in the season to where it is right now. It just seems like that has become another issue that's popped up for this team. So, man, this is going to be I have no idea what to expect from this team down the stretch and into the playoffs, KJ. No idea.
I don't either. And that's the scary part, Dan. I don't know what to expect. I don't know what to believe. The only thing I know to believe without the shadow of a doubt, as much as the grass is green, as much as the sky is blue, and as much as we drink water to stay alive, Nikola Jokic is going to be the best player in the world. That we know. Yeah. But
that's the one constant on this team.
That's the
no
one
doubt.
constant we know without the shadow of a doubt. But beyond that, I don't know. I don't know, man. Look, you could tell these guys. Oh, man, I don't think I've ever said this out loud, but here we go.
Say it.
You could tell these guys that coming up on this playoff run, if you guys don't win the championship this year, we're breaking this team up, and I still don't think they will get over the hump.
Yeah, I do see some people in the chat talking about like they should have broken it up this year. Just so everybody is clear, the only realistic person they could have traded at the deadline this year was Michael Porter Jr.
That's it.
You literally could not have traded Jamal or Aaron Gordon because they signed new contracts over the offseason. So that is an NBA rule.
Yep.
You're not trading Joker or Christian Brown. You still got Christian Brown on a rookie deal. He's been awesome this year. And at the end of the day, you got to ask yourself, like, what could the Nuggets have gotten in return for Michael Porter Jr.? Now, if you want to say, well, they should have traded Michael Porter, I mean, that's fine. And I think that's a fair point to say. But at the end of the day, KJ, you've got to look at what could they have gotten for him, and would it have helped this team get over that hump, that second round hump that they faltered in last year? I mean, it's very difficult to say. But now, when we're talking about this upcoming off season, it's fair game. I mean, I get it. But as of right now, they really were hamstrung with their contractual situations on the team. It's just, there's no other way to say it.
No, I agree 1,000%, Dan. I mean, look, here's the truth. I mean, if MPJ is going to be this consistent, and if he's going to be bothered by physicality, and we can't get him to not be wavered easily, we talked about his confidence earlier. Look, I got a guy on the bench who is just kicking and foaming at the mouth to be a starter with more minutes. We saw Peyton Watson absolutely ball out tonight. If inconsistency is the problem, I can just go with Peyton Watson at the 3, take MPJ out of the equation, get me more shooting and more scoring off the bench. You know, like go trade MPJ for like Jordan Clarkson or something. What I'm saying ultimately is
That could have been an option.
It definitely could have been an option.
I mean,
all
that's a fair point.
All I'm saying is at the end of the day, if you're the Denver Nuggets and you know that Peyton Watson is right on the cusp, you got to give him more minutes so you can see is it worth paying him, number one. And number two, you got to come under that cap, man. You got to come under that cap, and now is the time to start thinking like that. The Jazz can absorb the MPJ contract. But, I mean, because at the end of the day, Dan, if they don't win this year, then what? If they don't win this year, then what? And so I'm just trying to get out ahead of it, man. Because
I think the Nuggets, could take a really good lesson from what the Avalanche did this year. And when
Absolutely.
I say that, I mean like next season or this offseason, but this offseason or next offseason. Look, this is all hypotheticals because we don't know what's going to play out in the playoffs. Who knows, man? Maybe Michael Porter Jr. finds his 3-point stroke and it works for this team in the playoffs. I mean, with how he's looking right now, my confidence level of that happening is very low.
I'm with you, but I hope he puts himself in a position to where he sees us in the hallway after the NBA Finals and flips us the double birds. I hope he's in that position.
I do too. But like I've said, that right now, today, this season, at the ending of this year, the Nuggets are at a real crossroads. There's no doubt about it because they're smack dab in the middle of the prime of the best player in this organization's 50-plus year history. So make no mistake about it, everyone. This team, depending on what happens in the playoffs, they are coming up and they're coming up on a true crossroads type of moment after the end of this season. And we'll see. Everybody fair game except Joker, KJ? If that were to happen, is everybody fair game? That includes Jamal Murray. That includes Aaron Gordon. That includes Christian Brown. I mean, that's a crossroads moment. Nobody thought Mikko Rantanen would ever get traded.
That's true. But you got to understand, Jokic would have to give the green light to trade Jamal. And if he gives that green light, do you know what that would mean for this version of the Nuggets? And what I mean by that specifically, to get more in detail here, we all know Jokic has the power. If he wants you there, you'll stay. But if he wants you gone, you'll be gone, a la Bones Highland.
I was just going to say, ask Bones Highland.
You know what I mean? And so for Jokic to give Calvin Booth the green light and say, I love him, but we got to do what we got to do. Man, we would be in a bad place in this organization for Jokic to trade one of his bestest friends that he's come to love and know here in Denver and in the NBA just period. And so if that is the case, then sure, I'm willing to do it. I just get nervous that it's the same thing we were talking about last time, Dan. If playoff Jamal doesn't show up, what is his value in the offseason?
Exactly. And I think that's kind of where they are with a lot of these guys, trade assets, if you will. What is their true value? But at the end of the day, if it doesn't work, you're almost obligated to try something different when you have a player like Nikola Jokic. KJ, great stuff, man. Appreciate you jumping on. They are going bananas in Ball Arena right now. There is salsa dancing on the court. I'm surprised they're doing this. The Avs play here tomorrow night, and I would imagine that the conversion crew would like to get this thing rolling. But hey,
Well, I guess for now they're
I want to
starting
see
with
you out there salsa dancing, KJ. Look at this.
Listen, I'll do it. I'll
You see
do
that?
it, man. Listen,
See him-
man, I'll be
you
out
see
there
him down there?
salsa dancing, man. Hey, it's all in the shoulders, baby. You know what I'm saying? Then you put one foot right here, one foot right
Oh,
there.
there
You know,
you go.
hey,
See, you got it, man. You got it. All right. KJ, you're the best, dude. Appreciate you jumping on as always.
Appreciate you, my friend.
All right, there he goes. KJ Granderson. Yeah, they are blasting that music here at Ball Arena. But tough loss for the Nuggets, 129 to 119 is your final. They'll be back coming up on Wednesday against the Bucks. I would not be shocked if we saw Nikola Jokic, but I would prefer, like I said in my plan, that he sits out until the Timberwolves game coming up on Tuesday, I believe, is when they play Minnesota. I think I said Wednesday earlier. I believe it's Tuesday because they have Milwaukee Wednesday, Utah Friday, and then they have 3 days off. And then they have Minnesota. I think that would be hopefully the right plan for the Nuggets to bring Nikola Jokic back, get him another extra week of rest, and then just give this thing, go all out at that point. You've got your guys rested. You've got your star player with 3 weeks off. Hopefully at that point he should be ready to rock and roll for the stretch run of the regular season and into the playoffs. But we'll see what happens on Wednesday and Friday as the Nuggets continue their 5-game homestand. That's going to do it for the post-game show tonight, everybody. Thank you so much for listening to In the Paint right here on Altitude Sports Radio.